I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix. Welcome to Closet Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is the Chevy Chase movie of European Vacation. It's about 1 hour and 30 minutes long, and the movie starts with a passport montage with basically an intro credits. And then cutting to the Griswold family. They're in this game show, they're dressed as pigs, and they're competing against this other family, and they win a trip to Europe. So they're on the way to trip to Europe, but before that they have a barbecue. And the youngest daughter, Audrey, has a crush on a guy, like most teenagers do, and she's kind of sad that they have to separate and go on this weird vacation. So later Clark tries out a camera on his wife, and she's reluctant at first because it's really weird. He films her wearing nothing like more than a towel because she just came out of the shower, and he puts down the camera and they basically have sex, and this will bite them in the butt later on in the movie. So while on the plane, Ellen, the wife, she dreams of them visiting the royal family and them being quite acquainted with them. And Rusty, the son of the family, he dreams of going to a club, and Audrey, the daughter, dreams about eating a lot of food, and she doesn't like food because she thinks she's fat. And Clark, the husband of the family, he dreams about I think it's Germany, and he is actually dancing around to the sound of music, and it's really weird. Excuse me. And then they arrive in England, and they stay at this crappy hotel because the show they didn't want to pay a lot of thing for this trip, I guess. So they stay at this crappy hotel, and there's like a mix-up with the partners, which leads to some funny moments. And later they go on a trip, and this is the funny thing about it, because in England they drive on the left side of the road, but Clark doesn't notice, and he runs into two people, but they're very polite and very friendly because they're Englishmen. And then he runs into a man on a bicycle, which is played by Eric Idle, which is one of the original actors from the Monty Python series. And I think he is the more funnier in this series, in this film series, I guess, in this film, because it feels like everyone else is trying to be funny, but he's actually genuinely funny. So he gets bruised up and whatnot, but they move along. So they're supposed to go on this trip to see Big Ben, but they wind up in a roundabout because Clark doesn't know how to drive, and he gets stuck in the roundabout for the rest of the trip. So it's kind of funny. So the next day it rains, and Audrey tries to call her boyfriend back in, I think they live in California, and since it's like they have to pay a lot for that bill, and that actually comes up on their bill because the gaming show was supposed to pay for the bill, but they don't pay the extra expenses of Audrey's phone call. So then what happens, they're supposed to go to Stonehenge, and what happens is that Clark actually makes this speech about how old the Stonehenge is, and it stood for like thousands of years, and it would stand a whole lot more, and he actually backs into the Stonehenge, and everything falls apart. So after that ordeal, the family goes to Paris, and they check into an even crappier hotel. And for some reason Clark wants some photos of their experience in Paris, so he gives the camera to a random stranger to take their family picture, which is a bad idea because he runs away with it. And on this tape is also the snuff film that him and his wife recorded earlier, so yep, stuff happens. And then Clark wants the family to fit in more, so he gets berets, like French hats with their names on it, and Rusty is not happy about it. So they go out to get some food at a restaurant, and this is one of the funnier parts where the Clark doesn't understand French, or has this like digital kind of device that translates French, English, and whatnot, but it's not really working. And the waiter kind of just insults him and tells him all these bad things, and the whole kind of dinner winds up them just getting like TV dinners instead of like real cooked food. So they go to see the Eiffel Tower. And this is one of the more funnier things as well. So Clark and Rusty, the son, they have this conversation, and the father says, like, if you don't want to wear that, that's fine. And he throws it off the Eiffel Tower, and this random dog, this woman is holding this dog in her hands, and the dog just jumps after like the hat, the beret, and falls down into the water below. It was kind of obvious, but why would you even have like a dog over the safety railing on the top of the Eiffel Tower? It's kind of like a bad idea from the start. And then later that night, Clark takes his wife Ellen to for some dinner to make up for all the bad things that's happened, and they wind up at a strip club. And this movie doesn't censor much of it, and I was kind of surprised and shocked myself that there's a lot of boobs in this movie. And for some reason, Clark sees his son Russ there as well with a prostitute. He's drunk on whiskey and has like glasses on. I don't know, maybe it's like 90s humor. I'm not following along. So later they go to the, I think it's like an art museum in Paris called Louvre, and they go through there and they check all these art pieces and everything. And Artie gets a letter from a boyfriend, basically he's breaking up with her. And later they go to Germany to see some of Clark's relatives, and they're supposed to go to the number 6, I believe, but they go to 16th, and a lot of funny comedic things happened. The next morning there's a street performance downtown, and the family goes there, and Krusty managed to get a girl, and yet again there's more unnecessary naked boobs. And somehow Clark managed to get up on stage, and this scene drags for a bit. There's like a dancing number, and Clark managed to start a fist fight, and the mob chases the family out of there, and they managed to get on a train, and on this train to Rome they managed to annoy each other because they are not really enjoying their company right now. So they want to refund their tickets, so they go to this ticket agency, but it's somehow run by criminals, and they end up with a lot more money than they asked for the tickets. So, and they wind up taking like a handcuffed guy in their trunk of the car, and they go downtown to buy some clothes, which makes them look really silly. And there's this montage of them actually dressing up, them believing they look good, but they look like a circus. That's kind of a funny scene, though. I give them that. That was a funny scene. And apparently there's like a crazy car chase again, and the Python guy gets damaged once again because he's been on this trip, and throughout wherever he goes he runs into the Griswold family, and he always winds up something bad would happen to him. And then there is like there's this billboard of Ellen, and from the Naked Snuff movie, and it's apparently become a hit among all the inhabitants of Europe right now. So she's not very pleased with Clark, so they kind of split. And then Ellen gets kidnapped, and Audrey and Clark follows them, the kidnappers in the car. These were the bad guys from the ticket exchange earlier. So they wind up crashing in like a fountain, and but everything ends up good. So on the way back home on the plane, Clark managed to get into the cockpit and somehow distracting the pilots, because he believes it's like a bathroom for some reason. I wasn't clear about it, but they just when they're about to fly on to like I think it's called Liberty Island, New York, and they managed to knock out like the torch from the Statue of Liberty, and then the credits roll, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. So what do I think about this movie, European Vacation with Chevy Chase? I don't like it. The character of Clark is like one of those uncles that tries to be funny but really isn't, and he tries and tries and tries yet again, but he's not getting there. He's not funny. This movie has some funny jokes, and I think when one of the more funnier things are when there's like a switch at the English hotel between the couples, and they don't really know which room is which, and Ellen winds up in a bathtub like with bubbles, and this random guy walks in to like brush his teeth or whatever, and Clark finds himself thinking he is in like their bed chambers, like him and Ellen, but it's really this random woman just sleeping there, and he just cuddles up to her and says in her ear like, "I'm really horny." And I was like, oh no, this is really terrible. That made me laugh. And there's some other scenes where with the Python member Eric Idle, where he does some funny remarks. The first time when he actually get hit by the bicycle, and he's like, well, it's just a flesh wound. It's like a pure Python reference, and he just does something with his arm. It's like sprays blood all over, like, and we should get you to a hospital. And in all like English manner, no, it's fine. I just walk it off or whatever. And Clark hands him his bike, like, hey, here you go. And the bike is all trashed up. Those are the good parts, but the other parts are kind of like dragging. And I also felt it was really unnecessary showing a lot of boobs, like naked cleavage and whatnot. There's no point in it. And maybe it was a thing back in the day, but it certainly will not fly today. So can I recommend this movie? Probably not. It's better if you stay away from this one. So anyway, thank you for listening and or watching, and take care.